When you look at this matchup, two teams that are among the hottest teams in the NHL, actually 2 and 3, the Wild and Blues, since the NHL's trade deadline in terms of points percentage and record. I think the only shame of it is that they have to meet up in the first round and one of them's going home. Is there any edge that stands out to you in terms of looking at these two teams on paper?
Well, there can be in some ways. I mean, when you look at the power play of the St. Louis Blues matched up against the penalty kill of the Minnesota Wild, I think special teams definitely favor the Blues. But in a playoff setting, we still don't know what we're going to get. The NHL has instructed their referees and officials to call to the same letter, to the same standard that they had during the regular season. So we'll see if it factors in. But to me, the bottom line with this matchup is that the Minnesota Wild are a better team defensively than the St. Louis Blues. They're able to shut down quality chances against. They've been able to keep things largely, to the outside for their goaltenders, of course, Cam Talbot and Marc-Andre Fleury. But the conversely, though, the Blues have been an incredible rush team this season, and they have a phenomenal power play. So the pointy end of the Blues is that they've been scoring at almost 5 goals a game down the last stretch here. They're one of the best puck passing teams on the league. They can really snap it around. So I do think that overall picture, Minnesota should be the team that comes out on top in this series, given the way they can play defense and they can score, and they have the true game changer in this series. Okay, for me, Kirill Kaprizov, best offensive player in the series, superstar. But I want to see how Vladimir Tarasenko matches up. And I know the Blues are a deeper team when it comes to depth scoring, but I think that one-on-one, Frank, could be really, really interesting to see how it plays out.
You talked about the defensive play of the Minnesota Wild maybe being a difference maker for them. From the Blues perspective, can you give me what maybe might be their sort of X factor heading into this series? Like, maybe like complete the sentence. The Blues will win this series if blank.
The Blues will win this series if they can manage to keep Minnesota from entering their zone with a ton of speed and exposing gaps all over the ice. Because at times when St. Louis has gotten themselves into trouble, it hasn't just been rush chances, it's also been zone entries that have allowed other teams to set up and get playing in their own defensive zone. And to me, a lot of that for St. Louis just has to do with how they play all over the ice. Are their gaps tight? Are they supporting the puck? When St. Louis doesn't support the puck, they turn it over pretty often and it goes back the other direction. They have to move as a 5-man unit up and down the ice. And for me with St. Louis, when they don't do that well, things can go bad the other direction. But you do look at how this series has played out. St. Louis has won all 3 games this year against the Minnesota Wild head-to-head. But 2 of those have had to take extra innings to do so. They have been close games.
I love the extra innings reference there, Mike. The other question I have for you was between the pipes, like Minnesota, they have a bit of a decision to make in terms of do you go Talbot or Fleury? Talbot's been sensational down the stretch. St. Louis, I mean, the back and forth in the crease there, that's been well documented this year. Give us your breakdown of each of these two teams in terms of what we can be expecting between the pipes.
For 2 teams that have really good depth in goal, as it stands, I actually think goaltending is going to be less of a factor in this series than we might make it out to be. Now, we're going to get to play the fun game of who's starting for each team. And I don't know who's going to go for the Minnesota Wild. We had Jeremy Rutherford on our Daily Faceoff show the other day from The Athletic in St. Louis, who said that Ville Husso is expected to be the starting goalie for the St. Louis Blues. And I would expect that there. But you look at the work that the defensive unit has done in front of Minnesota to allow their goalies to succeed. They've suppressed shots, but they've also gotten good help from their netminders. Marc-Andre Fleury, 9-2 since coming over at the trade deadline. Cam Talbot hasn't lost in regulation since March 1st. Now, their numbers look very similar. There's 2 things, though, I think here. Marc-Andre Fleury played the last game of the year against the Colorado Avalanche, played well, allowed 1 goal and 28 shots. It was the depleted Avalanche lineup, but he did play that last game. And that always makes me think maybe a coach is leaning towards playing that goaltender if it was the last game of the year. Conversely, though, you look at it, and Dean Evison has given Cam Talbot the net a lot of the season, and Talbot's been so good. So I don't know what to expect in Minnesota. It could be either goaltender. I think that there's a decent chance we see a true rotation there, even without back-to-back games. But I do believe Ville Husso this year with his .919 save percentage, 25 wins for the St. Louis Blues. He only lost 7 times in regulation. He was really strong for them, especially in his first full campaign. Binnington's won his last 5 starts. but they were against a little bit lesser competition. Husso got the tougher games down the stretch. I believe that's who we're going to see in goal, but I think he's going to have a short leash, given this is his first playoff experience.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see who the Wild end up starting in game one, and then we'll go from there. Mike, give us your pick. Who wins the series and in how many games?
I took the St. Louis Blues in 7 games, and it's more of a gut feeling because I think that their offensive prowess really peaked at the right time of the year, got points, and I can't even remember how many games in a row, 16, 17. It was a lot of games in a row. And I think that this club right now with St. Louis is far, even though they have defensive deficiencies, they have been able to outscore teams. And the matchup itself, having seen St. Louis go 3-0 against Minnesota this year, even in tight battles, I think it favors them over the course of a long series. If Minnesota gets out to an early lead, though, I would take them at many less games than 7.
It's bananas to see how good these two teams have been down the stretch. In their last 50 games combined, these two teams have lost a grand total of 6 games in regulation. Can't wait to watch it. Can't wait to read your coverage on dailyfaceoff.com. Mike,